What is up, my friends? You are very, very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda. I hope life is treating you well. I hope you're enjoying the decent dry spell of weather that we're having here in the UK and Ireland. And welcome to Craig's Weather Service, because apparently that's what I'm doing now in my intros. So look, I hope we're all good, and I see I have a few thank yous to get through straight away. Mark, thank you for gifting 2 memberships. Really appreciate that. 3 memberships, actually, Mark. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate that. And we have lots to go through tonight, my friends. We're going to be talking about the Richard Keys, Gary Neville, well, different sides of the refereeing debate. We're going to be talking about Andre a little bit as well, of course, and lots of other bits and pieces over the next hour or so. So, I hope you all joined Adam for the watch along over on Top of the League. It was his first one, and I'm really happy that he got it out of the way, and I think he performed very well. I was tuning in for bits and pieces of it, so good to see Adam finally pop his cherry with the old Top of the League watch alongs. So, we all good? Colin's in the chat as well. How are we doing, Colin? Nice to see you as always. Ellis Moore's in there. Blair's video channel. Caleb, how are we? Appreciate you all being in. Champions League night as well, and it just hits a little bit different, doesn't it, when we're not in it? Every Tuesday and Wednesday when the Champions League games are on, it does hit home to me that we're in Thursday night football. That Thursday-Sunday rhythm, God, I hate it. How are you? Hope the family are well. Yeah, all good, thank you, mate. All good. Pretty relaxed day today, so just trying to get through as much stuff as I can in the background on these quieter days with regards to the streams and stuff. So, it does seem later than it is, Reese. Yes, that's a good show. I thought it was just me, but this day definitely does feel a little bit longer than it normally does. So, look, I have a couple of things to let you guys know about. Tonight is, of course, Oosh night, so we'll be going through and giving you the latest from our friends at Oosh, who have a couple of fantastic giveaways in store for you guys. So, I'll let you know about that in a few minutes' time. Adam was great today, loved it, said Mary Nelson. Thank you, Mary. I'm sure Adam will appreciate the kind feedback as well. James McCrory, how are you, dude? Nice to see you in. Hardy, nice to see you, mate. Nice to see Spurs struggling last night. Oh, look, can we talk about that for a minute before we get stuck into the Liverpool stuff? Because 2 things I want to go back over from last night. One, I don't know if I owe Ange Postecoglou an apology, but I have to say, he took it like a champ. He took everything that went in that game last night, and he didn't come out and spout and moan about it. And I have to give the man his credit. I do, I thought he was going to lose his shit after it, but he came out and he's just very likeable, isn't he? Every time I hear him speak, I just think, you know what? He's just a straightforward, honest fella. So fair play to him for the way he dealt with everything last night. But it was refreshing to see Spurs get a little taste of what happened to us at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Going down to 9 men. Chelsea were having goals ruled out every 2 minutes as well. Now, look, they were all correctly ruled out. I'm not trying to say that there was any shenanigans on that front, but I still don't know how it took so long for both Romero and Udogie to see red cards. I think they both should have been off for the first incidents, but either way, they got there in the end. And a comprehensive 4-1 victory with a hat-trick for Jackson as well for Chelsea. So that will liven up the title race a little bit. Manchester City now currently sitting top of the table. Then it's Arsenal. Then it's Spurs. Then it's us. Then it's Arsenal. It just makes me think as well, if we had beaten Luton, we would have been even closer. Colin, thank you for a super chat of the night. Said, hey cutie, Adam wasn't a fan of me calling him that. He was great tonight in a new perspective. Love you more than life itself. Wow, you need to get a better life. I'm not worth loving more than life itself, mate. Adam will get used to you, Colin. Don't worry, he'll get used to you. Probably just a shock to the system to be surrounded by so many Liverpool fans as well in the chat earlier on tonight. Yeah, I know, yeah. Oisin McGinley's just raised a good point. Unfortunately, we do know the officials for the game against Brentford at the weekend, my friends. And unfortunately, Mr. Paul Tierney is going to be the man in the middle for Liverpool's game against Brentford. The Premier League and the PGMOL did confirm the appointments earlier on. And it's Paul Tierney who's the ref. His assistants are going to be Scott Ledger and Mark Scholes. Fourth official, Tim Robinson. And on VAR duty, Stuart Atwell. So, shall we start guessing now which part of the game Paul Tierney's going to screw up for us? Because there will be something. I don't care. We can all have our opinions about other referees or whatever, but Tierney and Kloppo have beef. They do have beef, and he always finds a way. He always finds a goddamn way to make it more difficult for us, and I expect no different when he referees this game against Brentford. Spurs and 9 men. Sounds kind of familiar, said Ali. Have you seen the officials for Chelsea versus City? No, Luke, I haven't. I barely have enough time to keep an eye on our own officials for our game, so do fill me in. Blame the refs, not Tottenham. I mean, well, you're right, Dolores, but Spurs did celebrate like they'd won the Champions League with that really late goal, and I don't really have sympathy for them because they were a little bit snotty towards us after that game. Some of them Spurs players and certainly the Spurs fans. So it was a little bit of karma last night, and I can't say I didn't enjoy it because I did. When do you expect Man City to get the result of their cheating? Oh God, I don't know. I still don't think I think we're a year away minimum from getting to any type of resolution, and that'll be 5.5 years at that point. It's becoming pathetic. It really is, because the longer it drags on, the worse it looks, and the more stuff they get to keep winning. Because, people will say they've broken even now, but I don't care, because it's how they got to that point that's important. So let's wait and see what happens there. But it's not a great look, is it, when it drags on this long? I know City are going and saying, no, we'd like it quickly and all this. They don't. They're the ones dragging their heels as far as I'm aware. What do you think of the tragedy chanting Luton apology? Well, there's a video up on the channel, mate, where I very clearly give my views on the Luton apology. Calling it an apology, I think, is a stretch. Let's start with that one. I thought it was pathetic, and I said pretty much exactly that in the little rant I had as I went through the letter last night, or the statement, I should say. Your 18th birthday today, Harry. How are you? It's Izzy, one of our moderators' 18th birthday as well. She's currently in a Weatherspoon somewhere, tucking into a pitcher of cocktails. So happy birthday to Izzy as well. Anthony Taylor is the man who was refereeing the Chelsea game. Ooh, ouch. I know how much you guys don't like Anthony Taylor, mate. Rachel, you're very kind, my friend. Thank you. Rachel's gifted 5 Anfield Agenda memberships, which is extremely kind. So look, before I get stuck into tonight's news stories, just a couple of words from our sponsors. As you know, Oosh do a couple of great giveaways, and we try to pitch 1 or 2 each week. This week, we've got 2 belters for you. How would you like to see Liverpool against Fulham at Anfield on Saturday the 2nd of December? Our friends at Oosh have a 99 entries max high roller competition. It's €20 to enter, but you can enter for €18 with your Anfield Agenda discount, AA10. The prize package includes 2 tickets to see Liverpool versus Fulham, both in the Kop, 1 night's accommodation at the Apart Hotel Adagio, Liverpool City Centre. You will get €300 in Ryanair vouchers if you so need them. If you don't, you can have the cash alternative. And 10% of all profits from this draw go to Movember. As always, all of these draws are conducted over on the Oosh website. But wait and you have a look at this one, my friends. Watch this one. Watch the screen here now. Oosh have an absolutely humongous giveaway that they're doing at the minute, where you can win a whole host of prizes, as you can see on the screen there now. You can win up to 300 prizes instantly. As you can see there, the list of prizes, there's a 30 grand prize pot, 10 quid in the cash, or 10 grand in cash is the main prize, 315 instant win prizes when you buy your ticket for €2.49 before your Anfield Agenda discount. That ticket automatically generates a number, and if that number corresponds to one of the other prize pool numbers, you win those prizes. Or you can go into the main draw as well to win 10 grand. So there's over 300 prizes there from Oosh. And once again, you can use your 10% discount code to get into that draw for just €2.25 by using AA10. All the draws are conducted live over on the Oosh Facebook page. Check that out for further instructions. And of course, check out their all new website and app. Right, my friends, we all good? So that's the ad reads done. That's the good news. Now we can get stuck into the footy stuff. What do we want to start off with tonight? Do we want to start off with the Richard Keys, Gary Neville stuff, or do we want to go into the Andre twist? Because there's been a lot written about Andre today, particularly around interest from Fulham. Let's hear about the corruption. Okie dokie, let's get straight into that one then. So, It's a sad day when you find yourself agreeing with Richard Keys on anything, right? It's a tough day when you find yourself agreeing with Richard Keys on anything. But today, unfortunately, I do find myself agreeing with Richard Keys. So let's give you guys a bit of context on this one. So writing in his own blog, this is what Richard Keys, or part of what Richard Keys had to say about the current state of refereeing in the Premier League and what agendas are being pushed. This might take you back a little bit, so brace yourselves. He said, "I'm in the luxurious position of being able to say what I think about the falling standards of officiating in our league. But imagine taking a call from a high-ranking Premier League broadcast official reminding you who pays your wages. Scary. It happened to two people that I know recently. The message was clear. Stop criticising refs. What sort of world are we living in," said Richard Keys, "when people who run the game also want to steer the narrative?" That's scary. And look, this is Richard Keys', I won't say opinion because it's not an opinion, but this is his story to tell. And he believes that two people that he knows that work in the broadcasting industry around Premier League games were basically called and warned not to be criticising referees by a Premier League broadcast official. Think about that for a second. Rather than be able to give your honest, unfiltered opinion, which is what we all like in football or in anything, let's be honest, it's what I tried to do here. Imagine having a Premier League official or broadcast official ringing you up as you're trying to do your job to tell you not to be criticising referees. It doesn't sit well, does it? Now, I'm going to contrast that to what Gary Neville had to say, and then we can see which side of the fence both of these people seemingly are on. So this is a little taste of what Gary Neville had to say. He went on a bit of a long-winded conversation here, and you can find it on the Echo, you can find it on Sky Sports, and you can find it in many other places. Well, this is some of what he's had to say. "What I'm saying is the clubs themselves should definitely behave better in these circumstances. I'm looking at the Premier League now and the leadership in the Premier League, because the reality is they have got to start protecting referees." So the Premier League, according to Gary, need to start protecting referees because God love them, they're in so much harm's way. "At the start of the season, I was excited by the new transparency, the apologies to managers, and the fact that the referees were communicating with the clubs. But in return, what they're getting is significantly and seriously undermined by their own clubs. And I think the Premier League and the other clubs, to be fair, have to get with the clubs in order who are writing these letters." So he wants other Premier League clubs to basically have a go at the Premier League clubs who dare speak out and accuse these referees of failing to do their jobs properly. He just wants everybody to shut up and know their place. Ironic that from Mr. Neville, who loves to harp on about everything wrong at Manchester United at every given opportunity. Now I'm going to continue on. He said, "I think this is uncharted territory. The idea of these letters being written, to me it feels like Mikel Arteta has gone off on one on Saturday, which is fine. He's emotional and he's almost certainly gone to his board on the Sunday and said, 'You need to back me,' and they've fallen for it." That's what Neville said. They've fallen for it. So he thinks Arteta has hoodwinked the Arsenal board and they've fallen for it. Arsenal as an institution, as a football club, are massive. Great, wonderful football club with a huge history. They should behave better than that. They'll feel disappointed, I think, in a few years, whoever it is that sanctioned that statement. I do think the Premier League have to come down on their clubs. So again, Gary wants punishment. Gary wants the Premier League to come down on these clubs who dare ask the question, why are we getting stuck with subpar officiating? Why are these mistakes consistently happening? Why are you constantly having to apologise for not doing the right thing? Gary thinks the Premier League clubs should just put their hands up and say sorry for daring to ask for better. I'll go on. He said, "I know the Premier League is the clubs, but I do think they have to now really say to clubs, come on, we expect a lot better than this." Seriously? Gary, come on. I respect Gary Neville immensely as a pundit. I do. I respect him a lot. I think what him and Jamie Carragher do on Monday Night Football is tremendous. But I feel he talks out of both sides of his mouth at times. Now, shall we look back at an era where Mr. Neville played for Manchester United under Sir Alex Ferguson, where they loved to surround referees and chase them around the pitch and get up in their faces and moan at them and criticise them and try to dare I say, intimidate on some occasions. And yet here we have Gary Neville telling us all that we need to respect referees and that the Premier League need to come down on these clubs who are putting out statements criticising per referee decisions. I mean, he does know he's not the Prime Minister of football, right? Because he seems to have an opinion on everything. An opinion on how Manchester United should be run, an opinion on how football clubs should be managed by managers. I would just direct you to his own little spell as a manager of Valencia. And as I said, I've nothing but respect for Gary Neville. I really, really do. I think he's a great pundit, but he doesn't half talk a load of shite a lot of the time. And here we are again, having Neville telling other clubs like Liverpool and Arsenal that daring to stand up for yourselves and expecting better from the most watched league in the world, from the most cash generating league in the world that has subpar officials. Am I wrong on this, or is it a warped world where I find myself agreeing with Richard Keys? Like, that doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't. Me agreeing with Richard Keys does not sit well with me. But I'm at a loss, honestly, with Neville on this one. Yeah, I'm going to have to bite my tongue a little bit, because if I say what I really am thinking, I'll probably land myself in hot water. But basically, I think Gary Neville sometimes just needs to shut the fuck up, because I don't know if he loves the sound of his own voice, or if he truly does feel that he is the voice of football, because he tries to be statesman, owner, politician, and all things to all men. I just wish he'd shut up on this one, because we're all sick of it. We're all sick to death of seeing the shitty officiating week in and week out and the subpar decision making. And most importantly, we're sick of the undue influence that referees and VAR officials are having on the outcome of really important games of football. I dare say that when United are shafted out of a decision, and it will come because, you know, it does do the rounds, these shitty decisions, I will look to see what he has to say then, because I fully expect him to speak out the other side of his mouth when it affects United. Callum said, as you said, Craig, I'll come back to bite every club, which it is doing, so no sympathy, said Callum. The refs have gone too soft and make stupid decisions too, said Dylan. I don't know about them going too soft, mate. I just think referees... I think, as I keep coming back to the same phrase, I just feel referees are having an undue influence on the outcome of big, big games. And do you know what? I kind of find myself erring towards what Ange Postecoglou said last night about the days where we just accept that mistakes are going to be made and we get on with it. But when you introduce VAR, when you bring in video analysis and you're analysing everything down to the nth degree, slow motion replays, like frame by frame, as Ange Postecoglou rightly said, you've got this quest for perfection and it's simply never going to happen. But what I really agreed with him on was the standing around and the waiting and the length of time for these decisions. It really is impacting the flow of a football game. And Ange Postecoglou spoke about the fact that with his Spurs teams, or with any of his teams, he likes them to play a high intensity, a fast moving game, and that's been broken up when these decisions are taken 2 or 3 or 4 minutes at time. So we'll never get back to the days of no VAR, but I do find that's the side I'm coming down on now. I'm agreeing with Ange Postecoglou and almost longing for the days where we didn't have to put up with it, because the most important one that I think we'll all agree on, no matter what club you support, is that moment when your team score. And it used to just be you waited a couple of seconds to see if the linesman put the flag up. But now you've got to wait for that. And then you've got to wait for the VAR check. And some of the stuff they look for in the VAR checks is ludicrous to me. Some of them I've seen checks and I'm wondering what the hell they're looking at. So I'd like to know your thoughts on it tonight. Do you agree with Gary Neville? Should the Premier League come down on clubs like Liverpool or Arsenal that release these type of statements demanding better? Or do you think that the situation that Richard Keys has described, where 2 broadcasters receive phone calls telling them and reminding them who pays their wages from Premier League broadcast officials and telling them to basically stop criticising referees? I would rather the referees stop being poor, personally, rather than us stop criticising them, because the last sentence of what Richard Keys said here, it's really true. What sort of world are we living in when the people who run the game also want to steer the narrative? I agree wholeheartedly with that. You should be able to criticise. One of the things we do here on Anfield Agenda is criticise the players in Jurgen when they put in a poor performance or they're not playing well. And we have the freedom to do that without having to wonder who's going to be ringing us up or emailing us and moaning at us. And that's why we want the freedom to do what we do, and why we have no interest in being officially affiliated with the club or having interviews with the club or having access to the club. I like the freedom to be able to say what I want to say. But apparently, the same doesn't apply to broadcasters. Apparently, they're getting told to stop criticising referees. Isn't surely the desire, or shouldn't the desire be, to just get better referees, to have better outcomes, to, I don't know, not forget to give perfectly good goals? Only wise men should comment on morality, said John Williams. The fact Keys is in the right is actually scary, said Daniel Mullen. We have a word for it in the States, ref ball. Ref ball isn't one thing, a bad decision. Ref ball is what happens when referees decide to take centre stage and allow the players to decide things, said Henderson Galbraith. I think you're right. And that's what I think is happening in the Premier League time and time again. Referees are having too much of an impact. Ramirez said, "Hey Craig, I'm feeling a bit better and I really want to watch the stream and have a great time." Well, we hope you enjoy it, mate. And again, glad to hear you're feeling a little bit better. What happened to Andre? Nothing. Yeah. I'll go through the Andre situation in a few minutes, because I know that there's been some talk that Fulham are in pole position and that, but trust me, I'll give you clarity as much as I can on that in a few minutes' time. VAR is a joke, said Phoenix. Actually, do you know what? Let's have a poll. Let's have a poll. 1 second. Right, I'm going to ask you a simple question. Should VAR be taken away? Yes or no? If you could go back to a time when there was no VAR, would you prefer it or would you not? So, VAR to be taken away or scrapped, yes or no? I'm going to leave that poll up for a good while, because I'd like to get as many opinions on this as I can. What happened with Andre? Again, I will get to that in a moment, mate. I can't go through all the news in 2 minutes or it'll be a very short stream, so let's give people a chance to have their take on this situation. And then, of course, we will move on to speak about Andre, and we'll look ahead to the Toulouse game. The poor decisions only seem to affect teams that are potential threats to Manchester City, said Dodger. Do you know what, mate? I'd be lying to you if I said that at times last night when I was watching that Spurs-Chelsea game, there wasn't occasions where I thought, oh, this is a stitch-up. Chelsea are being shafted. Obviously, I have no proof of any of that, but I can't say that I really disagree with what you've said. It does. I don't know why anybody would want Manchester City to win things, by the way, other than perhaps undue political influence, maybe. But I don't know. You got to be careful, obviously, when you talk about these things, but it does seem like some clubs get a bit more of the rub of the green, shall we say. John Williams said, "Really, Craig, fans, players and clubs should decide the rules. We and they pay everybody's wage." Do you know what gets me? I thought about this yesterday, right? Tell me if I'm wrong on this, by the way. Tell me if I'm talking shit. So, 2 incidents I want to just draw your attention to. And I'd look, actually, why are we on the stream? 23 minutes 50. So 24-ish minutes, Connor. Remember that, 24 minutes. So I'd like to get your opinion on something if I can, folks. 2 instances over the past few days have really made me think about football and one of the basic rules of it. And that's the handball rule. So I want to draw your attention back to Virgil van Dijk's header that hit the elbow of one of the Luton players and wasn't given as a penalty. I think it was Ross Barkley, if I'm not mistaken. He was going backwards and his arms were up and it hits his elbow and the referee said no penalty. Now, let's for a second say that we're all okay with that being no penalty. Just for a minute, humour me and say, okay, we all agree that that wasn't done on purpose and no handball. Just for a second, even if you disagree with me, just for a second. Now we'll fast forward to Raheem Sterling's disallowed goal for Chelsea against Spurs last night, where from close quarters, the ball ricocheted up, hit someone's leg, and then hit Raheem Sterling's arm. The ball then goes down onto the ground. Raheem Sterling steadies himself and scores. So, in this crazy, warped world that we currently find ourselves in, an accidental handball is fine for a defender, but an accidental handball for an attacker, instantly bad. Make that make sense. It's either a handball or it isn't. It's like they've made one rule for defenders and one rule for attackers, and the one that they favoured is the one that takes away goals, not the one that adds more goals and entertainment, the one that takes away goals. So why can a forward now have an accidental handball, but a defender can seemingly have no end of accidental handballs? How does that make sense? It's either a handball or it isn't. What's good for the goose has got to be good for the gander. You can't say attacker, bad, on purpose, no goal. Defender, don't worry about it, mate. Flap your arms around as much as you want. Accidental, 'tis grand. That doesn't make sense. You can't have different rules for different players, different parts of the pitch, defenders or attackers. Make it one thing so we all understand it. Because one of the most basic rules of football, a handball, has been conflated so much that we all don't know what constitutes a handball anymore. People like myself and your good selves and pundits and former players, to a man, woman and child, nobody seems to really know what the hell a handball is. I'm really confused on that one, so I'd love to know your thoughts. If your arm is out from your body and is up, it's a handball. Well, then we should have had a penalty. Do you get what I mean, though? Like, again, you can come down on which either side of this you want. Even, like, I asked you to give the benefit of the doubt to Barkley, that it was an accident. So that's an accident. Why is it when Raheem Sterling or an attacker does it, it's intentional? It doesn't make any sense to me, and it really gets to me. It really, really winds me up that we have different rules for different parts of the pitch or different positions. They both should have been handballs. Either that or they both shouldn't have been handballs. One or the other. You either give it all as a handball or none as a handball. This mix, depending on if you're attacking or defending, it's nonsense. It's like saying a foul in one part of the pitch. Like, you've often heard somebody say, if that happens in another part of the pitch, it's a free kick. But when it happens in the penalty area, all of a sudden it's not a penalty. A foul's a foul, no matter where it happens. These are the type of things that are ruining football. VAR for goal lines and offsides only, scrap the rest. So, as Ange Postecoglou said, everybody loves the goal line technology, right? There's once in a blue moon, once in, God knows, 10,000 games, you might have an incident where the goal line technology doesn't work for an incident. Okay, that's technology, you live with it. But we all love it. It's nobody really argues. The ref looks at his arm. If the watch goes off, it's a goal. The players know there's nothing they can do. So yeah, it's like football is two different sets of rules at times. They wouldn't even let the handball go when I was a kid, said Deface Me Network. Or the Faceman Network. VAR is the best thing that ever happened to football. Yeah, of course it is, mate. Best thing that's ever happened to football. I don't know how you come up with that one. Honestly, I really don't. I'm not saying it's the worst thing either, but it defo isn't the best thing that ever happened to football. It's corrupt. FIFA, UEFA, FA, they're all bent, said Kevin John. And Spaz Mickey, thank you for your super chat as well, mate. The VAR for goal line technology and offside, scrap the rest. Do you know what though? Even on the offside technology, mate, we need to be all using the same technology. So, if UEFA bring out semi-assisted or automated offsides, it should be rolled out across all the top leagues. Nobody should have any say in it. If they've deemed that it's good enough to use in FIFA and UEFA competitions, then it should be rolled out across the Premier League, League 1, Serie A. But, of course, we know why it's not in the Premier League. And it's to do with, well, two things. The club's not voting for it, and also to do with the Nike footballs not being tested enough in the system. What do you think about the terrible calls that led to Wolves conceding a penalty in back-to-back games and dropping points? Shocking. Shocking. And again, you feel for Gary O'Neill. You feel for Wolves. And he's not wrong. They have been shocking decisions. VAR could easily be great. They just need to not be stupid. So, again, with VAR, we're constantly striving for perfection. And we're never going to get it. Because there will always be subjective things in football. But I feel like they're almost looking for things to rule goals out for now. Because they're so afraid of getting pulled up on something that they're over-analysing stuff. Like some of these things, I mean, what happened to the benefit of the doubt, as an example? Or if it's really close, give the advantage to the attacker. These things seemingly go out the window. I think the Sterling move was explained as he was the next to touch the ball. Again, it doesn't matter how they explain it, Cam. It breaks down to two things. If an attacker accidentally, well, I have to say accidentally, because if they purposely handball it, of course it should be ruled out. But if an attacker accidentally handballs it and then scores, rule it out, handball. If a defender in the same area of the pitch accidentally hits his arm, nothing doing. How is that sensible? That the same law has two different interpretations depending if you're a defender or an attacker. It just doesn't make any sense to me, mate. And it doesn't matter how they explain it. We've seen two instances where the handballs were clear for all to see and they had different outcomes. As a kid, once the ball hits your hand, it's a handball. Exactly. Like, if your hands are down by your side, fair enough. If somebody is in the penalty area and they flick the ball up and your hands are by your side, I get it, fair enough. But when you're like this, it doesn't make sense to me. All the time with football, in a game that, if you go back 15, 20 years and you speak to, let's say, many Americans who don't watch a lot of football and hadn't gotten into it yet, one of the things that I used to hear a lot of the time was, the games are too low scoring. There's not enough action to keep people entertained over 90 minutes. Well, somehow they've now seemingly tried to find a way to make less goals happen in football. Not more. They've tried to make less goals happen. Think of many moments over the years. Go back through Liverpool in 2005. Wouldn't have happened. Because Jersey Dudek was off his line, would have been pulled back, and that penalty situation could have changed. Think of half of Alan Shearer's goals, or half of Michael Owen's goals, or Robbie Fowler's goals. How many of them would have been chalked off? History could have been very different. It feels like they're constantly looking for ways to change the game. Constantly feeling like they need to nitpick at everything. Leave it alone. The game's been as it is for hundreds of years. Did you see that Fulham leading the race for Andre and Liverpool looking at alternatives instead? So, I will move on to talk about that now because enough people have been asking about it. So look, on the Andre situation, it's important that you take a lot of the things that come out with a massive pinch of salt. So, a couple of things. According to Bruno Andre, as you said, he said Fulham lead the race to sign Andre. Another one said Fulham are currently leading the race to sign Fluminense's Andre. Liverpool are still working on options to strengthen in midfield in January. Then you can move on and find other articles from people speaking about them as well, to say that, here's another one that comes in that said, over in Italy, journalist Giovanni Scotto has claimed that Napoli are looking to sign the 22-year-old, and they're apparently only willing to bid about 15 million euro for Andre. So, what I would say is this. Whether it's Fulham or, well, let's go with Fulham in this. Do you think if Liverpool want to sign Andre and Fulham go head-to-head with Liverpool, that if we really want them, we're not going to get them? Of course we're going to get them if we want them. Now, if we don't want them, of course, that's another conversation. But what I don't understand is, if we're looking at options, and I truly don't know. Like, I've been told to expect a bid for Andre. I've been told that. Many other journalists have intimated similarly. So I would say take it with a pinch of salt until the situation becomes a little bit clearer. Yes, Fulham are going to lose João Palhinha. He's probably going to go to Bayern Munich in the January window. So they're going to have to look for a replacement. But nobody can tell me that if you're Andre and you're offered Fulham and Liverpool, you aren't going to Liverpool. Because they're not going to outbid us. They're not going to outspend us. So it would come down to a straight decision for the player. And with all respect to Fulham, who are a good club, and they have a decent manager in Silva, come on. It's Liverpool. It's the Kop. It's history, tradition, a great manager, amazing fans. I just think if we want them, we get them. If we don't want them, and Klopp is looking around elsewhere, then that's a different conversation, and one that, of course, I'm willing to have here. John said, City aren't a big club. How many decisions corrupt, said John. So, on Andre, if we're not looking at him, or if Bruno is right and we're looking elsewhere, I don't know where we're going to get better value, because 30 million euro for Andre is a very small amount of money in the grand scheme of things for a 22-year-old Brazil international who looks the part, and we've tracked for quite a while. So if we're not going to go in for him, why are we going? And who are we looking at? Because I'm very, very confused. It is abundantly clear we need a DM like tomorrow, and we need to get one in by January. And with all the goodwill in the world right now, no indications of that Klopp trust with Toro or with Toro Endo just yet. And we can't sit back and allow Andre to just go elsewhere if we've looked at him. Usually I'd say it could be a financial thing, but even at that, it doesn't make sense. Because 30 million euro is about, £26 million? It's a very reasonable fee. So I struggle to see where around Europe or elsewhere we could be looking for a better alternative. Any suggestions, by the way, fire them into the chat. I'd love to know them. Even if we don't get Andre, do you think we get another 6? Well, we have to. Who was that? X-Pulse U. We have to. Even the journalists that say that Liverpool aren't going or may not sign Andre are all saying that we're at least looking up other options or weighing up our options. I'm just struggling to figure out what those other options might be, because we worked really hard on the Andre deal and were respectful and held off because they'd no interest in selling him until January. And now when it comes time that he's available, the fee's reasonable, we need him still. I don't know. Yeah, I'm baffled by that by that headline today about Fulham. Only one better is Tchouaméni, but he's not available. Tchouaméni just isn't available and would cost probably almost 3 times the amount that Andre would cost. Calvin is so overrated. I don't want Calvin Phillips near Liverpool. No, not a chance. No way. I don't want somebody who can't get a look in at Chelsea or at Manchester City and hasn't played regular football and has injury concerns. I don't want him at Liverpool. And also ask yourself this question, genuinely. Do you think City are going to want to loan him to us or give him to us, sell him to us? Can't see it happening. So I think Calvin Phillips maybe, I've seen 2 things, Juventus and Newcastle. Now obviously that Newcastle Ruben Neves link is still there and has been spoken about, but if they don't get him in, Calvin Phillips could be a decent option for them. Is the transfer market open? No, it doesn't open until January, my friend. But you can agree any deals, but they can't register players until January. Phillips is probably better than Andre, though. In what planet? So you go get a 22-year-old who is getting rave reviews by a host of European clubs, available for a snip with his whole career ahead of him, or you get a 27-year-old injury prone reject from Manchester City. I know which one I'd want. And I don't agree he's better either. I don't. Florentino Luis could be it, being valued around 40 million. Could be. There was some, I can't remember what it was now, but I remember there was something about Florentino Luis that I'd read that gave a good indication as to why Liverpool may not look at him. Now, I can't for the life of me remember what it was, so I'm not even going to start guessing. What's this Marcus sent me from the Mail? 1 second. I'm just opening up this story. So, the Mail Sport have put out a story, they say, exclusive. Increased stoppage time in matches could lead to clubs paying huge amounts in additional appearance bonuses. You'll have to read the article to get the gist of that. Actually, do you know what? Let's read the article and get the gist of it, because I'm genuinely struggling to figure out where the hell they got that from. But let's have a read of it and we'll see what they say. Come on, lads, in your own time. Hurry up and load. Yeah, the story's not loading for me, sorry. But anyway, suggestions? Why do we think they're going to have to pay? Is it because they're making more subs or something? That's the only thing I can think of. He had a bad attitude, said P1G. Is that Florentino Luis? I don't want to guess what it was, mate. I just remember there was something I read that suggested there was a reason Liverpool weren't looking at him. Mark said he's as confused as I am. I think the only thing I can think of, Mark, is that it's the club's having to make more substitutions because of the amount of minutes the players are getting in their legs. And that's leading to more appearance bonuses. That's all I can think of. Do we have any non-EU spots left? I believe there's one. From the last time I checked, I believe there's one. And 2 will be getting freed up, by the way, when we move on. Thiago Alcantara and Joe Matip. And actually, on Thiago, I do have a little bit of an update there. Just before I go to the update, I just want to remind you guys about this amazing competition that Oosh are dropping. You can win up to 30,000 quid in prizes and 300 instant wins. It is just €2.49 to enter. Of course, you get your 10% discount code with the code AA10. They have 2,000 quid, 3 lots of 1,000 quid, 4 lots of 750 quid, 6 lots of 500 quid, 10 lots of 200 quid, 20 lots of 100 quid, 41 lots of 50 quid, and Oosh coins to give away. And once you buy your ticket, you get entered into, you get given a number which will put you into a draw as well for the big 10k draw. So get yourselves over to Oosh, use our referral code AA10, and they also have the high roller competition this week for Liverpool versus Fulham. 99 tickets only. It's €20 to enter, but again, you can use your discount code AA10 and you will win 2 tickets in the Cop to see Liverpool Fulham, 1 night to hotel in the Adagio City Centre Hotel Liverpool, and 300 quid on Ryanair vouchers or the cash. Right. Please don't say Thiago suffered another knock. No, not that. It's actually gone completely the other direction on Thiago. So Fichajes, who we know have a residency on a special island of ours, they say that Serie A giants Juventus and Inter Milan are both interested in signing Thiago Alcantara. 32-year-old, of course, has been plagued by injuries during his time at Liverpool since he joined from Bayern. They go on to say that Thiago yet to feature for the Reds, and speaking on Friday morning, Jurgen Klopp revealed that the international is not set to return until the new year. So if an offer came in to even let him go for free in January, I'd do it. I would. I wouldn't even ask for a fee. I just don't see how he breaks in. to the Liverpool squad this season with the rebuild of midfield we've had. And if he's not going to start playing till the start of January, so we've got what? January, February, March, April. 5 months left in the season. And he will have to pick up match fitness. So you're still talking a while before he gets into that match rhythm. It doesn't seem worth it. It doesn't seem worth it considering he's got a few months left on his deal. Also, some good news today. Calvin Ramsey had a positive step back, making an appearance for Preston today in a 3-2 loss that they played in the Lancashire Cup. So he played 45 minutes. It was his first game back since being injured, so good news there for Calvin Ramsey, and hopefully he continues his fight back to fitness. Thoughts on Marzipan? Oh, I'm not a fan, Jens. Not a fan at all. It's one of those things I just don't like. I could do a Stefan, Ryan and Szoboszlai midfield. How do you feel? Well, Stefan isn't available. I've just put the preview out, by the way, so when you finish the stream, please do give it a watch. I did my score prediction, predicted 11, the usual stuff. And the injury updates basically ahead of the game are, we don't know yet with Curtis Jones. There was no news about whether Jones is going to be available or not. All we know is that he had a slight knock that ruled him out of the game against Luton. We know that Stefan Bajcetic and Thiago Alcantara won't be available. Ben Doak will of course travel, but I'd be surprised if he starts considering he hasn't started a game since he's come back. And Andy Robertson is the other long-term absentee, of course, with the dislocated shoulder that'll keep him out till probably the new year. So that's as much as I can tell you guys about our fitness levels or our availability of players ahead of this game against Toulouse. I wonder if Kwanzaa can play as a 6. The fact that we're even having to ask that question, even jokingly, is frustrating, right? Because we need a 6. And when I seen that story about Fulham and Andre today, I honestly felt like just putting my fist through the wall. Because here is this player that we've looked at, is available for a reasonable fee, is definitely available to buy. We've monitored, we send scouts or we send representatives over to watch the Copa Libertadores final, as did Arsenal, as did Fulham. For what? If we're not going to push ahead with it. So I hope that these reports that Fulham are edging ahead are wide of the mark and maybe just trying to bluff Liverpool into making a bid. But if it's not him, I still come back to what I said earlier. I just don't know who it might be. If I'm being honest with you, I think Endo's a better player than McAllister at the minute. Endo's been unreal. Well, I think you're stretching how good Endo has been and being overly harsh on McAllister. But I do understand what you're saying, Lee. Look, I'm all for Endo getting minutes. I'm with you on that, mate. I'm all for him getting a chance to play because we can't really make a good judgment call if we don't see enough of Endo. But on Alexis, I feel a little bit sorry for him because he's been asked to play in the position that just is not his position, and he's taken some flack for that because he's not doing it as well as we've seen him play in the advanced positions. So I agree with you on that. And in my predicted 11, I have McAllister playing in a more advanced role. Pirate, Uar. I don't know why I'm saying Uar, because I'm sure Pirates aren't really in Ambrosia ads, and certainly not from Plymouth or that neck of the woods, but I meant to say Ar, but I went Uar for some reason. There you go. So yes, Craig doesn't know what a pirate does. I have a feeling we're going to sign a DM in January, or maybe sign some random player. Well, we better sign one, because we need one, and it could be the difference between winning the Europa League and making a good rush in the Premier League, or finishing fourth and, I don't know, going out in the quarters. I think we need to get in a player. We just need it. I think we can last without a centre-back till the end of the season, but I don't think we can last without bringing in a DM. Or Klopp has to start playing Endo every single week and trusting him, one or the other. Like, let's say Endo played most games between now and January. Do I see a situation where we don't bring in a defensive midfielder if he sets the world on fire? Well, yeah, because you'd have Bajcetic back as well. But as we sit here right now, we can't say that that's the case because we're not getting to see too much of them. Thoughts on Marmite? I've never tasted it, mate. Never tried it, so I couldn't give you a thought on it. Thoughts on potatoes? Yeah, no, never heard of them, mate. Never tasted them. Can't give you an opinion on it. You know, if there's one thing you know about Irish people is we don't really have a relationship with potatoes. Was selling Fabinho a mistake? No, I don't think it was. I think not reinvesting all of the money in a bulletproof, ready to go for the here and now defensive midfielder may have been a mistake, but I think £40 million for Fabinho was a fair price. Oh, have you guys seen, by the way, that Jordan Henderson's fantastic start to his Saudi Arabian career is continuing on from strength to strength, playing in a 1-0 loss at home in front of 696 people. But he's over there to grow the sport, God bless him. You know, he's fighting the good fight, struggling on with that huge wage of his, but he is playing in front of that 696 people. And losing, by the way, let me put that out, and losing. Thoughts on Newcastle and Man United dropping down into the Europa? More surprised on the Newcastle side of it. I thought United, best case scenario for them was second in that Champions League group. And tomorrow will be a big night for them. If they can go over to Copenhagen and get a win and back that up with a result in against Galatasaray away, you know, they're right back on track. That defeat for Newcastle today was very damaging though. Yeah, I think they're now destined for the Europa League. And that's why we need to, by the way, avoid finishing second in a group. We have to top our group because we don't want that extra game that we'd have to play in the, what do they call it? Is it playoff round or something? There's a round basically where the teams that drop out of the Champions League play the teams that finish second in the Europa League stage, and they play off against each other for a place in the next round. In the next round of the Europa League. So if you finish third in the Champions League and you finish second in the Europa League, there you go. You're going to have another game. So we need to top the group to avoid that game. Some respect for our former captain. I can't say this clearly enough. Fuck Jordan Henderson. He has zero respect from me. Zero. None. He's a hypocrite. So, no thank you. I will pass on that respect. Same way he passed on showing respect to the people he was an ally for, or the manager that fought to get him a new contract and pushed the owners to give him an extension, only for it to be thrown back in his face and his toys to be thrown out of the pram when he didn't get guarantees. So I think I'm giving Jordan Henderson all the respect that he deserves. Preliminary round, that's the one, yes, sorry. Preliminary round, that's the phrase I was looking for. That's just pathetic. Aiden, and I mean this sincerely, don't watch. Do you know what's pathetic to me, Aiden? I'm an ally of the gay and LGBTQ plus community. I stand up for the rights of football. Football's for everyone. And also, come to Saudi. Come to Saudi, where the money's great, and I'm here to grow the game. Definitely not here promoting Saudi for the Wonga. Definitely there for the good of the game. I'm all about morals, me. I'm Jordan Brian Henderson. No, mate, you sold them morals down the river when you ran off to Saudi and stuck two fingers up to the people you claim to fight for. That's what's pathetic, my friend. That is pathetic. I'm a man of principle. I stand over my principles. I don't run away when the wages get big enough and forget everything that I fought for. So again, I will say, fuck Jordan Henderson. That's what was pathetic. No one's going to pay his bills, only him. Yeah, because Hendo has to worry about the bills. That's it. The millions upon millions he makes. God love him. He's probably sitting at home there worrying about the electricity bill coming in. He might have to go on to prepaid power. The excuse making to reward cowardice and to reward hypocrisy is pathetic. Does nobody have morals left? Is everybody just rolling over now and not standing up for anything. Does nothing mean anything anymore? If you profess to have a set of morals, then stand over them damn morals. Particularly when you've been made a multi-millionaire off the back of some of those morals. When you're being highlighted as an icon, as somebody who fights the good fight. You're happy to get all that publicity. You're happy to make all that wonga. But then when the wonga gets a little bit bigger, if you don't like these morals, I have another set of morals over here for you. That's pathetic in my book. Potty mouth. Yes, mate. I curse because I'm human. And I like cursing a lot. It really makes me happy. The more I can curse in a day, the happier I feel. Thoughts on moving Gakpo to midfield? So, when I think of Cody Gakpo, and when I think of Cody Gakpo playing through the centre, I don't think of an out-and-out number 9. I think of the kind of Bobby Firmino-esque. So, for me, one of Cody Gakpo's biggest strengths is linking play. He's great when he drops deep and picks up the ball. He's very good about getting away from a press. But also, what I like and what I think the idea was, if he drops a little bit deep, right, you've got one or two things to happen. A defender either lets him go, in which case, he can drop between the lines to pick up play, or a defender follows him, which in theory should open up a bit more space for either a third man run coming from midfield, or Mohamed Salah, or let's say Darwin Núñez, or Diogo Jota, or whoever else is playing in the front line. That's the theory. And that's kind of how I expected him to go when he was brought in, and Jurgen Klopp starts speaking about the attributes of Cody Gakpo and the style of which he plays. So, yeah. I love Cody Gakpo, by the way. I think he's a really silky smooth footballer, and I truly just don't know his best position, though, for us, because a lot of people want Darwin through the centre, but I actually like Darwin operating from the left, because he can come into the space that either Cody Gakpo draws the defenders to vacate, or he can just drift inside naturally, as we've seen him do when he scored the goal in the League Cup against Bournemouth. And again, what a goal. So yeah, it's a difficult one. What do you guys think? Like, where do you like to see Cody Gakpo? I mean, we all love him, which is a great start. He's been a great addition to the team. And you know what I didn't know about Cody Gakpo actually until about a month ago? Excuse me. I didn't realise how much of a devout religious belief he has. And I've often asked myself how he can... obviously he's Dutch and we have this kind of stereotype of Dutch being relaxed and calm, but I think his faith helps him a lot as well, from what I've read. He's a very deeply spiritual and religious person, and he speaks about how that forms part of who he is and part of his life, and how he likes to give back. And again, it's beautiful to see that we have players who are just good fellas, whether it be Mo or Sadio before him. Obviously Cody in this case. We've always been lucky that we've a great group of footballers who remember where they come from and that as well. And Klopp brings in, good people to the football club. But I didn't know anything about Gakpo's spiritual beliefs, but it's good to get a view of what forms people, makes them the people, the man or women that they are, And for Cody, he just really comes across as not just a good footballer, but a top lad as well. Off the left, said LFC Mule, is where he'd like to see. Am I doing the Manx tomorrow? Yes, Dave, I am. There'll be no Anfield Agenda live stream tomorrow. I'm at my psychologist from 5 till 6, and I won't be home till about 7. So I'll get a video out on Anfield Agenda tomorrow night, but we'll be doing a watch along on top of the league, yes, of the Copenhagen Manchester United game from 7:30. Craig, what's your favourite Justin Bieber song? You probably expect me to say I don't have one, right? But I do. I just don't know what the name of it is. What's the one? My mama don't like you, but she likes everyone. That song. Because I like the music video to that. It's very kind of new agey, dancey. But look, Justin Bieber's had some great songs over the year. In fairness, like I'm not against a little bit of cheesy pop. Klopp is quite a religious man. There's a theme. Yes, I think religion plays a big part in Jurgen's life as well. I think he's spoken about that previously. And look, again, as I've said before, whatever makes people happy, whatever finds people comfort and solace and focus and calm, brilliant. If you have that in your life and you can lean into it and it brings you joy, have at it. Enjoy yourself and be your best self, I should say. Love yourself. Yes, we all love loving ourselves, don't we? Let's be honest. I particularly love loving myself. What happened to Jordan Henderson? I don't know, mate. Never heard of him. No idea who he is. Do you feel the same about Bobby in Saudi? No, I don't. Again, Bobby didn't profess to be one thing and then run away. Bobby made an offer to go to play or Bobby made a decision to go play in Saudi. That's between him and his family. But Bobby wasn't being held up as a beacon of morality by the British media and by the FA and by everybody else. And Bobby wasn't going out of his way to make it be known that he was fighting for rights of people and then ran off. So, no, I don't feel the same about Bobby going over. I don't like that he went over. I don't like that Gerrard's gone over. But it certainly doesn't sting me the same way that Henderson, for the reasons I've said. Good to see we have a mix of religion as well. Look, as I've said before, if you're a spiritual person, be that religious or you believe in energy or whatever, if it makes you happy and it brings you comfort in your life, surely that's something we should encourage for people. Have you ever met somebody called Martina? I think I probably have at some point in my life met somebody called Martina. It's not a name I actually know somebody very well that's called Martina. Is Lucho in your starting 11 to take on Toulouse? Well, Lee, I want you to watch, dude. No, he isn't, mate. No, I haven't put him. I've actually got Jota on the left, if I'm being honest. Now, that's all you're getting out of me, Lee. I'm not giving you the whole team. Keep up the good work. Love the channel. Kieran, you're very kind, mate. Thank you. Appreciate you. Craig, if you don't mind me asking, could I become a mod? We truly just don't need any at the minute, Arian, mate. It's nothing to do with your good self, buddy. It's just, thankfully the mods that we have are able to cope with the volume of traffic we have at the minute. But if it increases, we can certainly revisit. I swear to God, Bobby's exit still hits hard. It does. I find myself wanting to sing the Bobby song even now during games. If I'm doing a watch along, the Bobby song is just one that pops into my head all the time. Like, yeah, I've got a painting of Bobby over there on my wall. Like, and yeah, as you know, he was my favourite player at the club. I love your content, Craig. Always honest. That's the only thing I'll ever promise, mate. I'm not promising you like everything I say. I'm not promising that I have the answers to everything, but I can always promise you I'll give you my unfiltered, honest opinion. And if you agree or disagree with it, that's up to your good selves. But that's all all I've ever promised from day one is honesty. Is there any news on the Lucho situation? So I've got to be honest, Craig, and say I'm not aware of any change. Yeah, I've tried to be very, very careful about this situation because obviously it's a very delicate situation and I don't want to give out any misinformation at all. So all I'll say is, like all of us, I'm hoping and looking forward to him being reunited with his father and their family being made whole again, as we all are. Okay, so Mark sent me through something here. I'm going to read it out. He said, had to copy and paste this. On Monday night, a total of 21 minutes of additional time was added to Chelsea's chaotic 4-1 win against Spurs. To ensure a more accurate calculation of additional time, in line with recent IFAB International Football Association Board guidance, has resulted in matches being significantly extended and substitutes are spending more time on the pitch. For example, Eric Dyer was introduced in Tottenham in the 34th minute, ended up playing 77 minutes in the game, and the Mail Sport has learned that Player representatives are holding talks with clubs with a view to ensuring their clients profit because they're spending more minutes on the pitch. Makes a little bit of sense from their perspective, but from the club's perspective, they're not making more money. The games are the games, the TV rights are the TV rights. So, yeah, it's a weird one this season with the extra, because I understand what the referees and what the PGO, MOL are trying to do. They're trying to cut down on time wasting and make sure that those minutes are played. But I think what we're ending up with is the time wasting still happening, and we're just getting longer and longer games. So I did a watch along of that game last night, and normally if you start to watch along for a game that kicks off at 8, you're done by 5 to 10. 5 minutes past, 10 minutes past 10 last night, I was still on. That goes to show you how long these things are going on now. If we got Mbappe, big if, would Lucho be a good right winger? I guess it depends. There's this fascination at the minute, it's the urban, with inverted wingers, right? And maybe in 2 seasons' time, inverted wingers won't be the thing anymore. So it's tough to know, because we've seen forwards switch wings before. I keep coming back to the, Sadio Mane started on the right-hand side for Liverpool till Mo came, and then Sadio went over to the left, and now we all think of him as this inverted left-sided attacker. Origi is clutch. Nobody can recreate those memories. Oh, he scores some big, big goals. My favourite, though, I know everybody goes to the Barcelona ones, and that is the right answer. But that Everton one, for me, where Verge mishit the ball and Pickford jumped up on a bounce off the bar, I don't think I've ever been happier for a team to get beaten by us than I was in that moment when Origi scored that goal against Everton. Still to this day, that one still makes me smile when I think about it. Mbappe can play right wing as well. He can play anywhere, man. You can play through the centre. I mean, look, if you've got him in your team or in your squad, you're finding somewhere for him to play. Craig, I would love to see Gakpo off the left, Nunes through the middle, and Salah on the right. Thoughts? He said, feel like we haven't done that since 7-0 game. Gakpo off the left, Nunes through the middle, Salah. I'm fine with that. I don't mind Darwin on the left or through the centre. I'm an equal opportunist when it comes to Darwin. I don't mind which part he plays. Same with Cody. I think either can play in either position, like you've mentioned. Fabinho's old coach Nuno just got sacked. Wow. And they put together quite a good team with Nuno there. So yeah, there you go. Just got sacked. The Barca goal was the best. Oh, look, Lee, it was a great goal, mate. Don't get me wrong. That moment, I still don't think Lee had ever really gets the credit for technically how difficult of a goal that was as well. He had to kind of sweep the ball and guide at the same time. It was a very good goal. It's just that one for me, Lee, because Klopp ran on the pitch. I don't know if he was chest bumping or high-fiving Alisson, but I remember he came on and had a thing with Alisson, and yeah, I just loved that one. That was just one that will always stand out to me. Let's have a look at this poll. So I said, should VAR be taken away? And we've had over 1,100, nearly 1,200 votes on it. And yes is 54% and no is 46%. So yeah, it's probably about where I thought. I think I'd vote if I had a vote, and in this fictitious world, I'd vote to get rid of it at this point. I'd rather go back to the days where we just have to put up with an incorrect offside decision. At least if it's human error, it feels easier to take that than a subjective decision that they've looked at and analysed. To me, it just feels a little bit easier to put up with a half yard off or on from a linesman. And to be fair to the linesman, they're really good these days at their judgment calls. I know they get told to leave the flag down for some instances, but more often than not, linesmen these days are pretty damn good. How about we keep VAR said Battle Dad Prime, scrap the PGMOL and create a high quality, fully accountable refereeing institution with ongoing training and more transparency. Yes, sir. Sounds, as you've said, it's not rocket science, and you're not going to get any argument from me, my friend. Absolutely. I did notice earlier on when I was watching the Dortmund Newcastle game, there was an ad from UEFA on the bottom that said become a referee, and then it had a link. So they're obviously on a bit of a recruitment drive to try and bring in more referees. I've had this idea as well. What was this gentleman's name again? Battle Dad Prime. I've had this idea for a long time as well, that I think there should be a group of referees that are centralised to UEFA that manage in different leagues all the time. So let's say you have a group of, I don't know how many you'd need. I don't know, it doesn't matter. Let's say 100 referees or 200 referees. And they spend some time in every league. So in this day and age, with the money that's in football, we can afford to fly referees from country to country. So you have referees from England refereeing in Spain, referees from Spain and Italy, referees from Italy and England, and all this. I think that would give us two things. It would give us less bias, or less potential bias, or even subconscious bias from referees who may have had negative instances or negative situations with other clubs before. And it would also give us a better understanding of what to expect in Europe, the way games are officiated. So we've all grown up and we've all heard these conversations where, well, that wouldn't happen in the Premier League, or in Europe that would be a penalty. I think if we had a mixture of referees who were doing the rounds, it could solve a lot of problems. I've always wondered why we don't have that. Like, it's not a money thing in football anymore. There's definitely enough money. Indian Scouser said yesterday's Spurs match is enough to tell VAR to get out. No VAR, yes offside / goal line technology and better referees. Said it's the urban. I'd be up for that. Automated offside technology, goal line technology, and I'd like the goal line technology to extend all the way around the perimeter of the pitch. That, like, to stop these. I don't want to say it happens all the time, but look, anything can assist the referee to let them know whether the ball was out, or a linesman, because sometimes they're quite a distance away and they're having to make their best judgment call. So I'd like that to be around the perimeter of the pitch where possible. JC Galvanil, you big legend, has just gifted 10 Anfield Agenda memberships. Thank you, mate. Get foreign refs in the Prem, said Press Salah. That's kind of what I was suggesting earlier on, like this group of high level officials that like rotate around the top leagues in Europe. We must focus on defence, as attack wins you games, but defence wins you titles. Yeah, but to help our defence, we need I think a more structured holding midfielder ahead, which should hopefully help out the defence. But you're not wrong on what you say. For the longest time, Liverpool had no problem scoring goals, but until we got Virgin Alisson in, we were a bit more leaky at the back. Craig, the VAR team against Tottenham spent their time in Saudi prior to the Tottenham game, so that doesn't work. Did I say Saudi? Did I mention 3 time zones and 6-hour flights? I said around the top leagues in Europe: France, Spain, Italy, Germany, 2.5-hour flights. A lot different to going over and refereeing in a very, very low-tech league in Saudi with a 6-hour flight and I think 3 time zones to go through. It's a little bit different. European refs dislike Liverpool, or at least it feels like it. I mean, don't know. Don't really have many memories of feeling shafted. Like, you'll get referees that always feel like they're homers, and what I mean by that is they give hometown decisions. I think you'll always get that to some extent in Europe, but I don't really remember feeling like every time we go away we get shafted in Europe. Not to my own memories anyway. Replace refs with robots. I am robot. You are fucking off. Bye bye, bitch. What do you think about Anthony Taylor as a ref for the Brentford game? He's not. Paul Tierney is the ref for the Brentford game. Just to go through again so people can get the full list of officials. So for the Brentford game, it's Paul Tierney as the ref, Scott Ledger and Mark Scholes as the assistants, Tim Robinson as the fourth official with Stuart Atwell on VAR. I like backs to the wall and fighting the establishment. That's the rebellious Liverpool way. It's the Irish way as well, which is why I think we're very similar. Pray that Nunes wins us to Liverpool or the City game. Oh, look, I'm very nervous about that one coming up. But look, my friends, I'm going to say goodnight to you all. And I will see you hopefully tomorrow on Top of the League at 7:30, where I'll be doing Copenhagen against Manchester United in the Champions League. Do drop over, and we're closing in on 20k. We're over 19,100 at the minute, so hopefully see you over there tomorrow. Thank you again to our sponsors, Oosh. Don't forget you can use AA10 as your discount code to get 10% off on any of the Oosh draws. Check out the Oosh website for further information. And yeah, appreciate you all tonight, and I will see you tomorrow. Much love. Bye-bye.